Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk about everything animation here on the Overly Animated Podcast, including Steven Universe, which we'll be getting into today. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Beatriz Mourad.
Hi.
John McKenna.
Hi, everybody.
And Steve Zec.
Hi.
Today, we will, Beatriz, John, Steve, and I will be getting in once again for the third time, and potentially of many, getting into Wanted, Steven Universe Wanted special. This is our feedback number 2 podcast. We'll be taking your questions and comments on all things the Wanted of Steven Universe. We still have not heard anything about the future of Steve, as of this recording, of Steven Universe. So, we'll be continuing to talk about Wanted. We already did one feedback podcast, and you can check that out at overlyanimated.com, but we had over half of the questions left, and there have been more since, so we will be once again be delving into your feedback. Yeah, it's a lot. Wanted feedback number 1 mainly focused on who killed Pink Diamond theories. Pink Diamond theories, White Diamond theories. So if you're more interested in that, listen to that one first. We'll get a little bit into it on this one too. There's some follow-up theories that we want to get into, but we'll also focus on the other elements of Wanted, the underappreciated, less exciting, but still very exciting elements of Wanted. And as we also had a Wanted recap podcast as well. Check out all of that at overlyanimated.com. You can subscribe to us on iTunes at overlyanimated.com/iTunes. So, we are going to get into all of these various Wanted stuff. Let's I guess since we have 3 new faces on, this is like we've now had like 10 people chime in on Wanted. So very, very, very briefly, can each of you give me your brief thoughts on Wanted, starting with Beatrice?
I loved it. Anything with Blue Diamond is something I'm going to like because I love her character design. But yeah, I thought it was a great hour-long special, and it just gave us more. It just showed once again that they're great at world building and plugging in things. And I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. And I am surprising myself by saying this, but I love the fact that they had Lars as the one that came along with Steven. Like, it just, by the end, in the beginning I hated it, but at the end I was like, oh my god, yes, this is why.
A lot of Lars haters have turned into Lars supporters here. Yeah.
No, like, not a hater, but I mean, I'm not a hater.
Tepid Lars. Yeah.
I just mean that, like, I now understand why he was the character that had to go with Steven. Like, I get that now. We'll go into it a bit later, I think. But
yeah, we'll get into some Lars stuff on this one. Yeah, good stuff. John.
Met and exceeded all expectations. I was on pins and needles after the previous bomb ended. This one just laid out season 5. I think it's going to be laying out season 5 in such an unexpected way. And for the first time since maybe last summer, I'm really excited to watch the show again. It was amazingly well made.
Yeah, great take. Definitely agree. Steve, what's your Wanted take?
I thought it was amazing. I think it blew past the zoo arc and the previous bomb, and just being overall, like, making me excited for the show too. I thought season 4 kind of slow, so this makes up for season 4. This is like the first great episode since the end of season 3, and I'm just excited to see what happens next. I love what they did with Lars, and I'm excited to meet all these new characters. It's so cool to meet. I think we all have our favorites. I just love them all, and I even have by the way, can I say why I call the off colors my nickname? I call them the Misfit Gems.
Yeah, definitely do seem like
I want to miss some toys.
Yeah, exactly.
We're a couple of misfits.
Yeah, it's a good call on that. Yes, let's get into the off colors to start with. We under discussed here so far on our podcast. I want to get into. So our first feedback item was from Steve, but since Steve is here, Steve can just give us his take on who his favorite off color is, and then we can get everyone's take. So Steve, who stood out to you of the off colors?
Okay. Should I just say it? Should I read what I wrote, or you want me?
You can give it to me in your own different words, or you can read it. Yes, either one.
Well, simple. My favorite is paprika, the
Let's call it paprika.
Paprika.
We've been struggling.
Or Patty.
There, yeah.
Let's just call it Patty.
Yeah, we can do Patty. Okay.
Yeah, I just thought she's very cute and funny. She just kind of a little bit of somebody of an airhead, and also certain characters I like. You know, Dylan, you love the mean girls, but my type is like the good-hearted airhead, which is kind of why I do think like one of my favorite Loud sisters is Lenny Loud. Why Ty Lee was was one of my favorite Avatar characters. I just love that type of character. That's just me.
Nice. Yeah. A lot of love for this new Sapphire for sure. Beatrice, who's your favorite off color?
I mean, I'm gonna have to agree. I love Paprika. I really do. I just think just in terms of the concept, like that's just a perfect misfit. Like, of course, I don't know, telling the future but says it too late. Like that's just great for me. And I know I just found her really funny. I found her kind of to alleviate the mood. Some like that could have been it could have been pretty heavy, you know, because like I don't know, it could have been they could have gone very heavy, and she was a great tool that they used to make it still like light and Steven Universe-y, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, John, favorite off color.
I'm gonna go with Rutile actually.
Okay,
because I really liked Rutile's design, the whole Siamese gem look. I liked how she actually looked the least human, because it kind of plays into the theory that gems on Earth construct their bodies to look like humans, so it would make more sense that you wouldn't have human-looking gems on Homeworld. And also, I thought Ashley Birch really played the character very well. He had a great way of having both heads of the Rutile character play off each other, complete each other's sentences. And that's kind of hard to do, and she did it very well, and she really made that character come to life a lot more. Paparazza, I know, fan favorite. I didn't mind her the second go around, but I'm still not sold on the whole airhead type.
Steve disagrees, obviously, but yeah, this is a controversial character type for sure. Definitely the haters and lovers. Yeah, good.
Don't pick up my waifu.
Steve's called waifu. Okay, it's called. I definitely love the Rutile twins. I'll take a stance here on this. I'll go with I forget the name, so you know maybe that's not a good sign. But the fusion. Someone remind me of what the fusion
the big one.
No, not the giant caterpillar.
Rhodonite.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Rhodonite, yeah. She's I really connected with her upon rewatch because she's like really hysterical about everything, and I just found it really funny and relatable. So just very worried, and I liked of all the one-notedness. Like I think Rutile was more of a character, like more of a well-rounded character, but of like the one-notedness of the others, I liked her hystericalness. So also giant caterpillar, also cool. So
I don't know, she kind of reminded me of like I don't know why she reminded me kind of like an old lady from a Ghibli movie in some ways. Giant caterpillar, like her face. Yeah,
definitely. You could see her as like the sweet witch sister twin from Spirited Away. Yeah. All good.
When I saw Fluoride, it kind of reminded, but the image I got in my head was it would be as if the caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland.
Yes.
And Tree Trunks had a baby and created Fluoride. That was the image I got.
Interesting take.
Because like she had like that old grandma drawl, and obviously she's a caterpillar, so that
I could totally see the Tree Trunks. Yeah.
I have my own thoughts on that character. The situation in one of my comments, I said the off colors, but they could be this show's kind of take on physically and mentally challenged people. I kind of got that vibe. I'm someone who in my life, I have been around a lot of physically and mentally challenged people in my life. So I kind of got that feel from my experience, especially her.
It's totally something the show would get into. I think it's a really valid take. I think the previous thing we saw related to that was a lot of people said the Onion friends in the last Onion episode were takes on like physical disabilities. I believe, or what that take was, but I could totally see where you're coming from on this, Steve. the off colors. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's interesting.
And the show has kind of done something like that. And the show's kind of done something like that in the past, too, because some people think Peridot, for example, is supposed to be representative of being on the autism spectrum, because of the way she has that whole inability to feed off each other's emotions and sort of social ineptitude combined with high intelligence. So I could definitely see the show doing that with the off colors.
Yeah, you could get into this for a lot of aspects. I agree.
Yeah.
It's a larger discussion. We'll table it for now, but there's a lot of different stuff to get into. But yeah, it's an interesting point and potential roundtable topic. Patron Rachel has to say, Padparacha Sapphire, in the way that her future vision was portrayed, reminded me of Karen Smith from Mean Girls with her ESPN or something. I thought this was a very funny take from Rachel. Yeah. Her ESPN, I agree. David says, I don't think the off colors are coming to Earth. I think their function is going to be good gems who inherit Homeworld at the end of the series. The meek shall inherit the alternate Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
it's a larger discussion. We've gotten to this a little bit with are the off colors gonna somehow get back through Lars or otherwise? Or I like David's take though that this is like the new generation of Homeworld gems that might take over after the diamonds are overthrown. It seems very far down the road, but I like that take.
Oh, by the way, I think though Blue Diamond probably might survive the series. I think she might be reformed and not, so I hope so, because I like her. I like Yellow Diamond too, but I don't see her character might be someone who I can't see churning, but
I don't know about that. I think it's going to be like some epic tragic thing where like Yellow Diamond wants to like stay with the fall of Homeworld and Blue Diamond's like, I'll stay with you because I love you. And it's like, I could see them both like just not surviving this.
Yeah. So Steve's proposing hashtag Blue Diamond Redemption, and
I'm all for that, but I don't know if she would make it.
Hashtag Blue Diamond Death on the other side. Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities.
Redemption Death.
Redemption Death. Yeah, tragic sacrifice.
Oh, no,
yeah,
I'm an anime.
Yeah, it's very tropey. Yeah, I agree. It's could be interesting. So there's a lot of possibilities. The Blue Diamond inherits things is an interesting take. Okay, I have follow-ups to some more. I have some more who killed Pink Diamond theories to get into. There's some long ones. This is the meaty stuff. There's no right answers here, but we have some follow-ups. So let's start with a Tai Dao, old friend Tai Dao sent us a complete version of the theory he proposed that we didn't really understand on last time, so we'll try to understand it this time. Is Water-Shuriken on Tumblr. He has a full. I selected the parts that made the most coherent, so this and the next one. So Tai Dao's theory says that Yellow Diamond conspired with Rose to kill Pink Diamond. So this is an interesting take. I'm probably gonna say the colors and not Diamond. We'll see. Or I might say YD. This is tough saying things with Diamond a lot. I don't know how the show does it, but okay. So Tai Dao says Yellow had a plan to overthrow White. This plan could or could not have included Blue and Pink. However, what if Pink found out about this and did not agree with Yellow? This would lead to interesting places. Yellow would then have to get rid of Pink as she could be exposed. The question is how? Well, that is an easy one. By the end of Earth Rebellion, we would have had, by then the Earth Rebellion would have been established. Yellow contacted the leader of the rebellion, Rose Quartz, and offered her a deal. Yellow would shatter Pink for her own reasons, but Rose Quartz would take the fall. The Earth would be left alone. Yellow put the cluster inside the Earth as a way to get rid of the rebellion, and more importantly, not to avenge Pink's death, but to erase any trace of her collaboration with the rebellion. I guess Rose never told anyone about the deal she made with Yellow, as it probably is easier for everyone to think she did the shattering. This also leads with Yellow's face when Steven said he did it. He shattered Pink. Yellow was probably surprised Rose was holding up her end of the bargain. Yellow probably wanted the trial to be over as quickly as possible so Rose wouldn't change her mind and call out what Yellow had done. That is also a reason why she snapped when Zircon came close to figuring out the truth. Okay, Yellow conspired with Rose to kill Pink. I heard a sigh, Beatriz. What's your take?
I just don't. Okay, people keep saying. I understand why people are like, "Oh, she flipped out when the lawyer Gem accused her of killing Pink Diamond. I understand why they think, oh, that's suspicious. She should totally do it. But think of the Yellow Diamond we've met so far. She's always been angry. She's always been reactionary. She's always been like completely like, if you at any point what's that word? Not dishonor, insult me. If you at any point insult me and who I am and my position, you're gone. You know what I mean? Like, remember that face she made when Peridot called her a clod? Like, come on. Like, she's a very angry person. So I don't see it as, like, I see that as such a reactionary thing that Yellow Diamond would do. I don't see that as something that would be suspicious. And it makes no sense. I don't see how she would, like, I don't see her gaining something from this, like, at all. Like, why would she want to overthrow White Diamond? Why would she have to kill Pink Diamond to overthrow White Diamond? I don't know. It's too convoluted, and I don't think they're going to go that route.
I think I have one, if I can have a quick rebuttal to that. I do think that Yellow Diamond may have had a hand in Pink Diamond's death, but I don't think Rose Quartz had a hand in it. It's quite clear that at least according to them, they got rid of every Rose Quartz in Pink's entourage as soon as they found out about the plot. Honestly, I think it might be a case that Pink Diamond had control of Earth, as established in the show, was losing control of the Earth because the rebellion was getting out of hand, and the only way to kind of get control back was for Yellow to kill Pink, pin it on a Rose Quartz soldier, and use that as an excuse, along with White Diamond, to finally crush Earth and kill the rebellion off. But that failed, obviously.
Why? Why wouldn't they just, like, if anything, just be like, okay, Pink, we're gonna designate you to another area because we know the big deal that would be if, like, we actually killed you, because it's a huge deal. So I don't know.
I think it would drive the last remaining soldiers to fight harder if they realized Pink Diamond died as a result of the rebellion.
I kind of agree with Beatrice. I don't think Yellow Diamond did it because I just think it's too obvious. I think she's like a red herring, pretty much. Yeah. And in most cases, in these courtroom cases, believe it or not, in this situation, the person who would have done it was actually Blue Diamond. I don't think that's the case in this case, but I'm just saying, in most cases, someone like Yellow who reacts like that, that's the red herring, and it's always the one you least expect. I got my own theory. What I thought happened, I think Big Diamond faked her own death. I think she's
still alive.
Yes. And I think also know one reason is Rose's powers. Her powers, like, it's just like, let's see, her tears can bring me back to life and other stuff. It's too. I'm pretty convinced that Pink Diamond is a nice person. She's a nice person because to have anyone under her to have those type of powers, and be an evil, like, mean person, like, it just doesn't make sense. And also, I also think this theory I have out there is that Pink Diamond, kind of transferred her powers to Rose, because I think our Rose Quartz, she is, aka Steven, is way too OP. I think they must have somehow gotten that power transferred to her from Pink Diamond. It's a good point. Yeah. We've talked about how OP Steven is. There's a lot of sporadic great points here. All of this potentially valid. What does OP mean? Overpowered.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, you're right. You probably use that too often, considering it's just a weird acronym. I love Steve's take that if this was like a whodunit, then Yellow's obviously not it because she's the obvious suspect, and like Blue actually is who would be because it's who you least expect. I love that take. That would be the most shocking if Blue did it. Yeah. All of you bring up great points, I would say. In terms of Tidehouse theory specifically, I really, like how it explains everything. I really want this to explain everything. I want to explain the cluster. I want it to explain why Earth was left alone. There's a theory that we said on Feedback #1 podcast that like explained why the gems just didn't do anything with the Earth for like 5,000 years. And I loved that because that's like explains the premise of the show. I love stuff like that. I think Tidehouse theory is, valid. I think that there's not really any big logical holes in it. I probably don't agree. I think the motivation for Yellow to overthrow White would just be if White's the head diamond, Yellow wants to take over. I think getting Rose involved is a little is a little weird. It does lose a little bit, but I like explaining Yellow's reaction at the trial, because if you're gonna say like Yellow's just reacted, the Yellow's a hothead take that Beatriz espoused. I agree with that. Like, you can explain Yellow's reaction in a lot of ways. You explain it like this, and that she's going to get her to shut up because, like Rose may have admitted it. It's an interesting theory. Definitely different than the ones we've seen. Here's another interesting theory from Polymath, who gives us a more in-depth take on the Pearl did it, which is one of the most common takes nowadays. Polymath says White Diamond ordered Pearl to shatter Pink. So that's what this theory is about. White ordered Pearl to shatter Pink. So Polymath says, Polymath-art for the full theory on Tumblr. In Adventures in Light Distortion, Pearl says, when I still served Homeworld, I saw it myself. She makes a suspicious pause and glances away for a second before she says she served Homeworld. I think she meant to say White Diamond. There's already a good amount of theories circulating about Pearl belonging to White Diamond already. I think the White Diamond sent Pearl to assassinate Pink. Blue says Pink was shattered using a sword. Although Pearl's main weapon is a spear, she's been shown with sword experience. It would make sense that Pearl would be close enough to sneak behind a diamond. Zircon mentions a palanquin rider. I believe that Pearl disguised herself as Pink Diamond's palanquin pilot in order to get close to her. I believe that is why Pearl is a pink diamond on her suit as seen in Space Race and Back to the Barn. Later on, Pearl was regretful of what she did. She knew what would become of her if she was either caught or confessed about White. Rose was compassionate and took the blame for her. Okay. I like this theory because it explains why is Pearl like pink on the suit and white in general. If Pearl belongs to, White, which a lot of people say Pearl belongs to Pearl's White Diamond's Pearl, then why does she have the pink diamond on the spacesuit? Well, she disguised herself as Pink in order to assassinate, Pink, Pink Diamond's Pearl or whatever, to assassinate Pink. I don't know. Anyone buying it?
It's possible.
Possible? Yeah, I agree this is possible, right? Anything's possible.
They're all possible. They're all possible. Yeah. Like, even when I rag on a theory, it's not because I don't think it's true. It's just, like, they're all valid. But,
This is valid. This is logically consistent.
Yeah.
I definitely put some stake in that because, and I'm glad that actually someone finally got around to talking about when Pearl made that pause there. This show would not have that kind of dialogue unless they're intending to do something with it, and I think that explanation is pretty good. She was going to say White Diamond, but is keeping things concealed because she's Pearl. She has secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah. And can I just say also, since the theory mentioned like shattered using a sword, like that just to me shows I can't be Rose.
We'll talk about that. Yeah.
Okay,
we'll get into this. But the shattered using a sword. Yeah. Clearly, Rose's sword doesn't shatter gems. Yeah.
Right.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. There's a whole confusion over this line. It's a whole thing. We'll get into it. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of people on the Pearl train. This is a great Pearl explanation and involves White, which is interesting. My general thing with Pearl is like, why Pearl doesn't seem generally Pearl's an open book. I guess that one line she's not. So I'd be surprised if Pearl did it. Is my take. Anyway. So we've had two, pretty consistent theories. How about here one really out there one from patron Hugh. He was really into this Bismuth did it theory. That's his big pioneering theory. I've asked him to condense it. Here it is. Hugh says, I think Bismuth shattered Pink Diamond in an unauthorized proof of concept raid. She says she pitched shattering to Rose. I think she did so only after shattering Pink by exactly the same kind of antics we heard the Crystal Gems reminisce about just solo. First, she briefly shapeshifted into a passable diamond or other gem that would do the trick. Palmed Rose's sword and a breaking point and got Pink Diamond to step out of her palanquin. Then she shattered Pink with the breaking point, making it look like Rose's sword did it. Shapeshifted into a passable Rose course, escaped, and went to Rose to pitch the proven concept and raise stakes. This assumes that Bismuth could shapeshift her whole body in different colors and not drop a sword and breaking point while she returned to Rose's form. In Cat Fingers, we saw Amethyst shift from one animal form to another, but she is always the color of her gem. Bismuth may have had more color options, not to mention mad skills and power. I think Bismuth didn't tell anyone what she would do because they might have stopped her. Her choice to credit the rebellion and her epic achievement would both perfectly fit and what we know about her devotion to the Crystal Gems epic war stories. As for committing the gems to this course without permission, Bismuth probably thought that when Rose saw the effect, she would agree or at least commit to follow through. Okay. Again, I think this is mostly logically consistent. So the big problem with the Bismuth did it is that I think Hugh's the only one on this theory, by the way. So it's not like but I think the big problem is that Bismuth has been in one episode, and is like not a major character. So, attributing it to Bismuth would be very weird. Another problem is that it mostly contradicts what we saw in Bismuth. Like thematically, but Hugh explains it, and in theory, what he's saying could be true, is what I would say.
It's possible, but I disagree. I really think the breaking point was a new weapon that's just finished when Bismuth and Rose had their little confrontation, and Bismuth ended up bubbled. So I really believe that was what happened. So until canon in the show is proven wrong, that's what I really believe happened.
Yeah. The episode Bismuth portrays it as a new weapon. I agree. Yeah. So I'd be pretty shocked if Bismuth did it, is what I'd say. So yeah, but it's an interesting theory. Maybe we should be looking on the out there theories rather than, on these, obvious candidates like Pearl. Maybe it's more interesting, like Blue Diamond, maybe. Anyway.
Oh.
Yeah. It was a lover spat.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe the ship. Yeah. Okay. So I want to briefly get into, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but this is a big point of contention among, me and other people. This is about in the trial, Blue Diamond, Steven says, yeah, I probably did it with the breaking point. And then Blue's like, she was shattered with a sword. And there's basically two explanations to explain why she says this. So I want to present the two explanations, and see what you guys think. And I'll give my like objective take, and then I'll ask you guys for your opinion. So Alex says, patron Alex, I think if you take the scene at face value, Blue Diamond simply says that in disputing Steven's retelling of the story, it wasn't the breaking point, it was a sword. Everyone mentions a sword, right? No one would mistake the breaking point for a sword if they saw it, and even if the weapon was kept secret, it would be strange if you simply accepted that someone calls a sword a breaking point. Jerry Danton says, when Steven says Rose probably used the breaking point, if Blue Diamond believed him and was crying out in anger, why would she say it was a sword? She either knows what the breaking point is somehow and that it's not a sword, or she doesn't, in which case, why would she hear that name and think it was referring to a sword? Given how the conversation plays out in the actress's line delivery, I'm pretty sure the point of the sequence was to sow doubt in Blue Diamond's and Zircon's minds about whether Steven did it, and did it despite the fact that he was confessing by having his statements contradict what was known about Pink Diamond's shattering. So here's the Alex side of the retelling. Alex says Blue Diamond is disputing Steven when, Steven says, I did it with the breaking point, and Blue Diamond says, no, it was with the sword. Now here's my take on it. Here's how I initially interpreted the scene was, Blue is following Steven's story. Steven says, I probably killed her with the breaking point, and Blue is like, oh my God, she was shattered with a sword? Like that. Like it was, she was saying that Steven said it was with the sword, and she says, oh wow, that's so depressing that a diamond, such a grand diamond could be shattered with a simple sword. There's ramifications of the line on either interpretation because, it says that, like, it says a lot about what Blue knows and how Blue interprets what Steven's saying. I believe that both interpretations objectively, like, make no sense. And this has actually, like, really annoyed me because I don't think there's any interpretation of the scene that makes sense. Maybe you guys can convince me otherwise. But, under the Alex interpretation, it wasn't the breaking point. It was a sword. She, like, has to know under either interpretation, she has to have some information on what the breaking point is. Like, the fact that it's either a sword or not a sword, or she assumes that it's a sword if Steven says it under my interpretation, which I don't think makes sense. Under the Alex interpretation, she said she knows the breaking point isn't a sword. Now, I don't think that makes sense with what we saw in the episode Bismuth. As Steve mentioned earlier, that's a new weapon when Bismuth presents it to Rose, and I don't think it, like, leaves Bismuth's lair. Like, I don't think it's known information what the breaking point is, or at least what we're presented as. Now, under my interpretation, she hears breaking point and assumes it's a sword. That also doesn't really make any sense, I think, because why would you hear breaking point and think sword? It says the word point on it, but why do the diamonds have a concept of sword naming, or what a sword, like, you know, like, there's, so, to me, neither makes sense. So my question is, which do you think is correct? And, do you think that it actually does make sense? You just watched this, Beatriz. What's your take on it?
Okay. Well, you make a good point. Like, there is some sort of discrepancy there. I based on how she delivers the line, I think she was saying, she basically was saying that what Stephen was saying doesn't make sense, that she was killed with a sword, not the breaking point. But how does she know what that is? Maybe, and this is where like my hypothesizing comes in. Maybe they never saw what breaking point was, but there was like a rumor about it. Cause this is a war. So you're going to have people talking about like, oh, like they created this like weapon or whatever that can shatter things or whatever. So maybe she might have like previous knowledge in that sense, but nothing on the show has told us that that's the case. So I'm simply going based on the delivery of how the scene played out, that it's more along the lines of her telling Stephen, no, it's not breaking point, it's a sword. But I agree with you in that doesn't make sense, because how would she know what breaking point was?
Yeah. Yeah, so the voice actress of Blue Diamond's delivery is more in line with the Alex interpretation of that she's contradicting Steven. I don't think it sounds exactly like a normal person would say that. It kind of is ambiguous, but it certainly doesn't sound like it under my interpretation. So that's a point in that favor. John, which do you think, and do you think it's like true, or do you think it's ambiguous?
I think there's a bit of a third option in here, to be honest with you. I sort of interpreted that whole scene. It's like Blue Diamond probably did see Pink get killed firsthand. She was told what happened, and what she was told was that she was killed by a sword. I think they probably know. I think they have swords on Homeworld, so I don't think that's out there. But I think she just interrupted Steven because she knows Pink Diamond is dead. She was told that a rose quartz killed Pink Diamond. She probably just had enough of Steven trying to cobble together some random nonsensical way of describing how he killed Pink Diamond. I think she's just like, stop. It's a sword. Quit it with this nonsense. I know what happened. And that sort of thing. I don't know whether or not it could be a sword that killed Pink Diamond. Something about that doesn't sound right. But I thought it was just more exasperation at, this tiny rambling human coming up with, jump kicks and random nonsense. I think it was just more exasperation.
Yeah, can I say something? Because this idea just occurred to me. So, Blue Diamond, is she, okay, you know how Sapphire is blue, so I'm assuming she worked on a Blue Diamond. Does Blue Diamond somehow have some sort of, like, future sensing presence like Sapphire, or is that only Sapphires that have that? Because she has some sort of like empathy thing, because when she cries, she makes everyone else cry. Oh. So maybe when Pink Diamond was shattered, if she was shattered, she felt her go. So that's why she thinks it was a sword, because she felt it being pierced. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So maybe that's it. It's not necessarily that she knows she was there and she saw it happen, but she felt it. So that's why she was like, no, it was a sword, because I know it, like, that's how it felt to me. Oh. Maybe it's like that. That could be an idea.
If I can answer your question, I don't believe she has future vision, because I think it's pretty obvious. And in the answer, she needed Sapphire's future vision because she couldn't do it herself.
Yeah. She doesn't have future vision, but I think the empathy powers, I think, are certainly possible. She could have sensed it. I think that's a good point. That's possible. I don't know if so that's potentially how she gleaned the information. She also could have just been told. In terms of what John said, that's interesting. I really like that interpretation of like, just stop. Like, she's good with the sword. I know that. I still think that's predicated on her knowing that breaking point isn't a sword, because unless she just randomly said it at that point, she did say it right after Steven said the breaking point thing. Steven's like explicitly said, this is how it happened, and she said it's with the sword. So I guess she could have just happened to have said it then. But I do like the read on her, like, her motivations at that point, certainly. Steve, which do you have a read on this scene?
Oh, I kind of agree with John. John mostly. I just think Blue Diamond just lost her emotions. It's just, she just thought Steven and his rambling were just thinking this was a game or something. He's like, I thought she got mad. This is serious. This is about You think the death of my sister is a game to you, boy? That's what I interpreted that as.
That's a good read on that too. Yeah. I think you guys might have the tone down. It's possible that's what they're going for, but she really, the timing of saying it after Steven says, breaking point really makes it sound like she's contradicting him under that interpretation. I don't know if there's would your answer to that be that she just happens to say it then and it's unrelated?
I would say so, because it's I don't think she's contradicting him, because in a sense, there's really nothing to contradict. I don't believe Blue Diamond saw or actually knows for sure what happened to Pink Diamond. She was just hoping that Rose Quartz, Steven in this case, was going to confirm what she was told. And when he was, and while he was trying to give his explanation, maybe the first time a rambling defendant made themselves look more innocent than guilty, I may add, it was just sort of, just tell me it was a sword. I know this. Just tell me it was a sword. I think it was just coincidental, or it was not the answer she was looking for and she was jumping in. So I really think I really think that might be the case. I don't think she would knows what the breaking point is. I don't think any of them do.
Right. Yeah. So that it doesn't make sense that they know what the breaking point is. Yeah. It should be noted, like you said, that the whole purpose of she asked Steven to testify because she said she wants to know what happened. She could have just been saying give me your take on it. I've heard something on my end, so that kind of make sense. But part of support for my interpretation is that why would she insert that it's a sword when she's asking what happened? But that's a potential explanation. I really like your read on it. I still don't think the breaking point line makes sense. I actually the place I've determined here, the place I've landed is that this is just a miscue from the show. I think there's no explanation that fully makes sense. And it's not a obfuscating the mythology thing. I think that this is supposed to make some amount of sense and it just doesn't. It actually has kind of really pissed me off with the episode, The Trial. Maybe I shouldn't care that much, but, yeah, I previously was oh, The Trial, top 10 episode of the show. And now I'm I just can't do it with this scene. I'm just too annoyed. I still think my interpretation's right, but I don't know.
Hold on 1 second, Dylan. We're going through all these different theories here. Let's just remember, all these theories are based on one episode. If Rebecca Sugar is correct, and whole season 5 is going to be a murder mystery, there's going to be plenty of time to potentially confirm or deny any theory that's been presented in front of us. So
it could totally make sense. You're right. It could, retroactively, they could present more info. It could totally make sense. We're basing a ton on the episode Bismuth, which is just such a crucial episode. What I would respond to that with is I think the experience of watching now matters. Me watching this episode without having seen future episodes determines that this is a frustrating experience to not know what they're trying to say with this line, and not in a way of we're going to reveal this later, more just in a way of they're showing me something now and it doesn't work. It's possible that they're trying to reveal that they know what the breaking point is. If that's the case, then they it kind of makes sense, but I think that's not what they're doing. But yeah, I'm open to having it make sense later, but I don't think that rectifies the current viewing experience. So
I agree, and that's why it's important to not outright dismiss or deny any theories, because right now we don't have any evidence to deny that theory. And the point of The Trial, and really the whole point of Wanted, is to get people thinking about how Pink Diamond was killed. And look at our case; this is the second feedback episode we're doing. Mission accomplished.
Yeah, I agree. I think they got a little caught up in this what they're doing with Wanted, of spurring this mystery plot going, and they went too far obfuscating for me. And for the most part, it's just this one sequence that it goes too far. But for the most part, and I know we're caring too much about 2 lines of dialogue, most people don't care. But yeah, it's
including me.
Okay, Steve calling me out. Yeah, so it's yeah. So I think most listeners agree with you, Steve. But their intent with this whole Wanted was to spur thought, and this is the most Steven Universe-y special in that they're presenting options for future plot points and stuff like that. I think this exchange is indicative of my potential overall problems with the show, in it being too obfuscating and stuff. But yeah, anyway, larger discussion to be had later. If you've solved the scene, let us know in the comments. I think John's came the closest so far to solving the scene, so we'll see if we can get we can crowdsource this. Okay, let's talk Lars. People care more about Lars than that stupid line. So A lot of Lars love. Raphael says, how do you think Lars's redemption stacks up against Zuko's? Please dedicate at least 50 minutes to this topic. Well, Raphael, if you insist, then let's go. No. This is like an overly animated from the Spur World joke in that, all redemption arcs must be compared to Zuko's. So, worse. The answer is obviously worse because Zuko's has the best redemption arc, but Lars's is good, right? Like, this was good stuff.
I'm just gonna I will say that I think Lars's might be better because I did not see this coming from him to the extent that it did. When I was originally watching Last Airbender, I was like 13 when it came out. I was talking with my cousin. 10 episodes in, we both realized, Zuko's going to teach Aang firebending, right? And we were like, yeah, that's the only way this could happen. So I was kind of anticipating that from the beginning. I wasn't anticipating with Lars. So I got to give a slight edge to Lars here.
It's certainly more of a surprise. Yeah, Zuko was obvious, right? Everyone knows Zuko's going to turn good. But it's not like Lars has ever been bad. It's just that you didn't think he'd like be so cool. So it's a different type of redemption. I agree, it's more surprising. It doesn't make it better, but it is more surprising for sure. In terms of like specific comparisons, I don't know. We don't need to get into it.
It's surprising to me too with Lars, but not as surprising if it was Ronaldo. That would be the most shocking.
Yes, where's the Ronaldo redemption? Come on, let's do it.
Though I have to wonder, you talk about great redemption arcs. Really, before Zuko, the one redemption that always comes to mind to me in terms of memorable redemption is always Vegeta, but from Dragon Ball Z. But Zuko, I do believe, is like my favorite redemption, even though it's very predictable. But
yeah, we could go back even further to Vegeta, but we don't need to get into that.
Well, I'm sure Andy would love that.
Yeah, we'll get on the DBZ discussions. No, we haven't had that yet, but that's we could get. Okay. Secular Winter Festival says, do you think Lars's resurrection was planned from the beginning, as his name sounds like a contraction / allusion to Lazarus? I love questions like this, not the Lazarus. I think the Lazarus part's like, kind of interesting. I'm not too into like name origin stuff, but certain people really are. I love like, was this planned from the beginning of the show? Like when when Rebecca's like outlining Lars's character, does she like know that this specific thing in Wanted's gonna happen?
Yeah, that, I think they must have, because, or at least maybe they didn't know that at that moment that Lars was going to be the one to like explain what Lion is, but they must have had that concept because Lion came pretty early on. So, and I'm just assuming that Lion is one of Rose's lions that she resurrects and he becomes
whole nother topic. But I buy it that it's planned from the beginning. Like, this seems like such a fundamental part of Lars and Lion and the show, and it's really cool to be finally getting into like, this is like maybe an endgame thing, like from Rebecca and the writers, like, and it's kind of cool to potentially getting into a initial planned endgame thing.
Yeah,
Steve.
Okay. I believe it was definitely planned from the beginning. Also, look at the name. Lars, Lion, both starts with L. Coincidence? Not.
Coincidence? Yeah, maybe.
I think not. That's.
I think not, says Steve. Okay. Yeah. John, any take on this?
Entirely possible. And you know what it is? The Crewniverse is, they're all very smart, very intelligent. They have this they make great efforts to plan out the story. It would not surprise me if this was Lars's big shining moment, and it's going to play a factor in the end game because it has to. I mean, they're not going to leave Lars on Homeworld forever. Sadie would miss him, and Big Donut would have to hire somebody else, which
they seem incapable of doing. Yeah, so it's we got to bring the Lars Sadie shipping back. So that's the primary reason.
I mean,
how will Sadie react to Pink Lars?
So of course it's going to be difficult.
Yeah. Wanted for the first time to me feels like we're getting into the culmination of Steven Universe's mythology. We're getting into the end game, and that's what makes it so exciting. Like, this is it. Like, we're getting there, and it's not really it because there's a lot of show left, but it feels like it. So I think that's going to be fun. Polymath says, Lion has the power to teleport and has the ability to roar shockwaves. We don't know if he got these powers when Rose resurrected him or if Rose gave him these powers sometime before his death. If he did receive these powers after his resurrection, does that mean Lars has similar powers now? Also, what would happen if Lars went into Lion's mane or vice versa? So we know that Lion and Lars share some things. They share pink and they share like the head portal. But we don't know if Lars can manifest interdimensional portals and other things that Lion can do. I guess Lion can also do other things. I guess I'm under the assumption. I think that Lion has extra stuff probably that Lars doesn't have.
I agree. I just think it's too early for Lars to get any special powers. I think he might not be completely human anymore. I think he might be immortal, but that's pretty much it. And people could go through him, but I think at the very least he's going to have to meet Lion and get some training done to unlock any powers.
Yeah. Lars training, that could be fun. There's the last ever. We'll see what powers Lars has. It's another character with arbitrary amounts of powers to join Steven, so that's fun.
Rather, I don't know if he'll have this. I think he will have some ability, but I don't know if he's going to have the same as Lion. Because, Rose was the one who resurrected Lion. Lars was resurrected by Steven. It's, even though they are essentially the same entity, I'd like to think they're separate. So I don't know. He might have different abilities. It might not be he can do shockwaves. Maybe he can, I don't know, change his form, or who knows. But
it'll be interesting to see. Going to be interesting against Lars. We'll probably, if we have a large amounts of time between the next one, we'll do a Lars specific roundtable discussion. We can get into it more. That'll be fun. I'm going to conclude by taking some sporadic ones from my other category on the other feedback here. I'm not going to get into all of it. We're running out short on time. But Gurren Prime says, as to why Lion can't teleport to Homeworld, well, it took him a minute just to get to the moon, implying it's slower than light. So something outside the solar system would probably take forever, especially since in log date Garnet said Homeworld was in a different galaxy. So this is in response to, like, why doesn't Lion just teleport to Homeworld and teleport back? And Gurren Prime makes a great point that it's not instantaneous when they go in back to the moon. It does take us a few seconds. So I buy this explanation.
I buy it.
Yeah, Lion not somehow all powerful and can just instantly teleport places. Although that didn't come to mind immediately for me.
Mm-hmm.
Steve has a few things. I'm going to summarize one of your things, Steve. You said that, what if Steven's resurrection tears only work on people he really cares about? Like he has to have genuine sadness to bring people back to life, basically.
So that was Peridot the first time. Remember when she kidnapped him before they became friends?
That was a spit, though, wasn't it?
I know, but still he was doing it under duress.
And it couldn't work. I don't even remember, to be honest. But
I think that was when his powers still were like off after the events of Jailbreak, because they come in and out.
Yeah, well, maybe that's a different story. But I still believe with tears, though, it has to be genuine tears. He has to really feel the empathy and sadness for the person in question, or else it wouldn't work.
Yeah, because if not, then Blue Diamond could just make him cry, and he can like resurrect everybody. So yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, he could resurrect an entire army by just, holding an onion to his eyes. I definitely
exactly. Yeah.
It makes sense thematically with both like the concept of crying and also just with the show. So I buy it. Yeah. I don't know if I wonder if it's something we'll have explained or if this will be a plot point, or if it's just like a fun like thing to speculate on. But yeah, I buy it. Steve also said, I love this comment. I think it's like from your original feedback, Steve. You said, do you guys think we would have had an Avatar Kyoshi in the trial in which Steven turned into Rose and said what happened? That would have been cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know it wasn't going to happen, but still.
I love the parallel to Avatar Day. You have a similar situation with Steven being a incarnation of Rose and Aang being an incarnation of Kyoshi. That would have been fun, yeah.
He was gonna turn into Rose Quartz, and he would have been sentenced to community service. That's how the show ends. He returns to Homeworld, and nothing else happens.
The Diamonds decide on a lenient sentence. Yeah, that. Well, where's this? We need a YouTube poop of the two combination or something. Like, let's get a fan art.
You mean like Steven turning to Avatar Kyoshi with Rose's face on
yeah, that's something like that. We could do that. Yeah, it's fun. Well, let's conclude here. Patronok says, one theory I've since come across I'm strongly inclined to believe. So we see Blue Diamond can affect other people's emotions or state of mind. So could that power be heightened, whether it could be by fusion or just an intense episode of grief to corrupt gems? Can Blue Diamond corrupt gems?
I don't know, because the thing is, like, she can make people cry, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're genuine tears. That just mean that they can just start crying. You know what I mean? So I don't even for instance, like during the trial scene, just everybody starts to tear up, but everyone wasn't like sobbing like she was. They were just tears just started to fall. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought. I really don't understand how the corruption stuff works, and it hasn't been in the show in a while.
Yeah, they've let that sort of wither, haven't they? Like,
yeah. I assume it'll come back. For now, I can't really comment on any corruption stuff. We'll see what happens, but it's possible. I think it's possible for sure. Okay, so there's even more feedback, but we'll cut it off there. Let's go through each of you guys. Give me your any follow-ups to anything that was said, or last things you have to get off your chest about Wanted or about anything we discussed. Beatriz.
Maybe it's because I'm just become so accustomed to like superhero storylines, but until I see a shattered pink diamond, I don't believe she's gone. That's all I'm going to say.
Look, many people echo your sentiments. We had a poll on the Patreon group. Half the people agreed with you. Half the people thought it was Pearl. So those are the two, at least as of right after Wanted, those were the takes. So, yeah. Also just general, like pink is like in a part of conspiracy. Rose, there's a lot of stuff like that going around. So certainly possible.
Oh, and one last thing. The pink diamond could be the cluster. I'm not going to explain that. I'm just going to leave it at that.
That's a whole another podcast. Oh my goodness. I don't know why. There's something relating to the cluster. I agree, but interesting. John, what are your final thoughts?
If any of the Crewniverse is listening to this podcast, I beg and beseech you to not have us wait too long for the season to come back. I am prepared to make whatever sacrifices of animals and herd and cattle as necessary.
I think you need to talk to CN's scheduling department there, not the Crewniverse, but
okay, that it's a lost cause. Never mind.
Yeah, it's a lost cause. It's a lost cause.
Don't CN, it could be back next week.
They could surprise air it next week, or it could be in September, or even later.
The episode will be on the app right now as we speak. You never know.
It could be. Yeah. I agree. Animal sacrifices will not work with the Cartoon Network scheduling department. They're too arbitrary. I will say I did an analysis, just for myself. I didn't even post this. I did an analysis of the pace of Steven Universe episodes airing. We are 9 episodes behind the pace of last year. Or ahead of the pace. So, we went into Summer of Steven last year with 9 less episodes. So it makes sense if we wouldn't have a full Summer of Steven because we are ahead of the pace.
I think the reason for Summer of Steven was because they had such a long hiatus. They had and it created a backlog. I don't usually start worrying until 2 months have gone by since an episode has been aired. And once it gets to be that point, then I'll, start wondering when it comes back.
You might get to that point. We'll see about that. I think this is all about, this is a little different discussion. I think it's all about however Cartoon Network scheduling department, interprets the current trends, and they're trying to, adapt. Cable is dying, et cetera, et cetera. So they're trying to adapt and air episodes in a way in which they think is most appropriate. Disney's currently doing this by bombing episodes in a month, of entire seasons. This is generally the trend. I'd be surprised if SU was back weekly for an extended period of time, although it was weekly for a large period of time this year. So, barely any other CN shows are weekly.
Avatar: The Last Airbender ended on a bomb. Most people forget that. That was back in 2008.
Right. And Nick ahead of the times, or just wanted to run it as fast as they could because they
But the whole series was up on DVD by then, I believe.
Yeah, it was also out on DVD early. That was a whole nother mess. Okay, Steve, what is your final comments on Wanted?
Okay, I think after all this evidence, I just find it hard to believe Pink Diamond is not good, that she wasn't on our side. And while I surrender the Pink Diamond is lion theory. That's done. I believe Lion was just a lion, but I do believe Pink Diamond, he's alive. He's there somewhere. Rose, maybe fake shattered her and able to bring her back or something, because I don't know. I just find it hard to believe one of her subordinates would have like power of tears to bring people back with compassion, unless she herself was a very compassionate person. So
that's a good point. Yeah. I forgot about this last, but this reminded me of another piece of feedback that goes against what you're saying, Steve. So let me briefly read this. I've gotten a lot of this type of opinion, a lot. Fuzzy Necromancer on Tumblr says, here's why I hate Rose's Pink Diamond is alive, etc. theories. They're predicated on the idea that rebellion couldn't happen without the complicity of a diamond, that our diamond is somehow special. The best truth is Pink Diamond was just another tyrant, another cruel monarch, and Rose was just another grud who decided to take a stand. There's no good tyrant, no righteous aristocrat. There's just another monster with too much power.
Oh, if I could just rebuttal one thing, though. Earth was her first and only planet, so she had no experience in this. So
right, I think it's more of a thematic argument. So I don't think evidence like that affects this argument. So basically, a lot of people say stop saying Pink is good. Oppressors are not good people; they're bad people. This is saying evil. They take this as a metaphor for generally the general world, applying it to our world and stuff. Tyrants are bad. That's how it works, Yeah. And it's more of just a moral argument. And I understand what they're saying.
Well, I just want complexity, because just I really, really hope Eclipse is not just evil, but that's another show, another story. But
yeah, it's I get what these people are saying in theory. What this person's saying who sent us the ask. It's just it's a macro argument for a micro topic here. This is one specific thing. Things that happen in Steven Universe don't necessarily need to have a giant moral implication, even though they often do. Not everything is going to. There's gonna at least be one twist that negates this good versus evil type thing. It's gonna happen. I don't think
there's going to be a moral gray.
There's going to be moral gray somewhere. Yeah. Yes, there's bad people, but there can still be bad people, and one of them can be good.
Perhaps something like Code Geass, which you ever saw that show?
Yeah.
The beginning of the show, it looked so clearly black and white, good versus evil. Then by the end, it was so complex and gray. But the most realistic type of war, compared to say, Fire Nation in war in Avatar, but.
Yeah, it's I understand where these people are coming from, but I do think we hold Steven Universe to such a high moral standard. Sometimes things can happen that don't have giant moral implications, but this is a whole other thing. So there you go. There's our second feedback podcast. Let us know what you guys thought in the comments to any of this. We are over hour 3 now on Wanted discussion. If there's nothing else, we're just going to keep discussing Wanted. Justin and Michelle haven't even had their Wanted podcast yet, so we're going to have another one, and there's going to be even more. Thanks to you guys, Beatriz, John, Steve. Good job here. Good job to all of our listeners sending in stuff. You can find us overlyanimated.com. You can consider supporting us on patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thank you very much to all of our patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Alex, aka Espan Universidad, and thanks as always to our patron executive producers, John, Ryan, Steve, and Alex. Present company included. Yeah. So thanks. Yeah. Thanks guys for listening. We had final comments already. So yeah, good stuff. Comment here, comment on YouTube. Keep the discussion going. If you comment on here, there's enough, then there's a possibility for a third feedback. If this is just an infinite feedback loop. That's a pun actually. So infinite feedback loop. So, just keep it coming and we'll keep discussing Wanted because, still a lot of hype. All the Wanted podcasts done very well, ratings wise for us too. So thumbs up, guys. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye.
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 Take care.